Hey, welcome back to Homestead HQ, where we talk about homesteading and preparedness. This is Shelly.
And I'm Jason, and welcome back to the episode. This is episode 3. In the last 2 episodes, you've kind of gotten to know us. We've talked about how we met, how we got together, what we've been doing on our homesteads. I want to mention one of our sponsors for the show is VacMaster. It's VacMasterFresh.com. We'll have a link in the description for a code to save you 15% off. Their main thing is commercial chamber sealers. I've got one. It's stinking amazing. I use it for all our butchery stuff. I contacted them, wanted to start using their products, and it's an amazing product. They've got chamber sealers. They've got butchering knives. I've switched over. All my butchering knives now that we use are from VacMaster.
They're awesome.
So use the code Homestead to get 15% off your order on it, and they've got monthly sales too. I think right now if you order one of their chamber sealers, you get a free stainless steel table to use. But that's one of our sponsors is VacMaster. Now, homestead happenings. Shelly, what have you done this week on your homestead?
What have I done this week on my homestead?
Or tried not to do on your homestead? It's been hot.
It's been so hot. Like, you don't want to do anything when it's hot. It just sucks to get out. I mean, I love being outside and working and all that kind of stuff, but when it's hot, it's just not fun. So right now we are currently trying to get our pasture fenced in because we got 4
amazing ewes.
Amazing ewes. Of course, they came from Jason, but we have 4 ewes. They're currently in our backyard, pretty much. They're kind of in the chicken pen, which is about a third of our backyard, I guess. But we need to get them out on pasture, so we need to get a perimeter fence put up and get that done. That's currently what we're working on. I can't think. We've had some, we had one of our hens hatch out 6 babies, which this is the first year we've ever had a chicken like go broody and hatch out. Is it the same? We've had two different chickens go broody. But the last one that did it, we got up one day and she had 2 chicks that lived, and we got up one day and they were gone. I don't know if something got them or what. So this time we took the mama and her 6 babies and put them in our old rabbit tractor, and hopefully it's protecting them and they'll be safe. But that's pretty much what we got going on right now.
We've had a couple hens go broody on us and hatch out a few, but they were like ghetto moms. They were great at having the babies and everything, but then they didn't take care of them. They're just like, yeah, we had you, now you're off. Do whatever you want. And
I found that guineas are like that. Guineas are the worst parents ever.
Yes.
They do that.
Guineas are notorious for being ghetto moms. They're just like, they're great at having them, but nobody takes care of them. Yeah.
So what have you got going on?
I hadn't done a whole lot. I've got 3 jobs running right now, spread out from, I've got a job in Bowling Green, I got a job in Franklin, I've got a job in Hendersonville. So it's been a bunch of running that, and it's been so stinking hot. I've got to fix some fence. The cows decided that they wanted to walk through the fence the other day. Some some temporary electric fence. So yesterday I came home, my neighbor called me, I was coming home, he's like, are these your 2 red cows out in the road? I was like, I guess, because nobody else has got red cows around me. So I was like, I'll be there in a minute. He'd shoot them up in the driveway. So I drive up and they're walking down the driveway, and I'm like, you stupid thing. So I get them back in the fence, go down and look, and I'm like, yeah, the 3 strands of electric fence are laying on the ground, and I'm like, I'll fix that. So
if any of you all are in the market for some Hereford cows, they are literally looking for a new home.
Yes, they are looking for a new home right now. Email me and we'll give you a good deal on these cows. I am tired of those stupid things for right now. It's so much easier to raise sheep. Once the sheep get busted with the electric fence, they're like, the hell with this, I'm done. Yep. I'm not going close to it. So that's about all I've done between running jobs, other than just feeding the animals and doing daily maintenance on it. Luckily, Luckily, the cows were going to rotate into the next pasture, but that fence is connected.
Yeah.
So I brought them back over, and luckily we've had enough rain at the pasture I can throw them out on another paddock for a couple days to buy me some time, because it's 97 degrees right now, and we're doing the podcast, so I'm like, they can eat on that grass that's over on the other pasture. It's not super ready yet, but it's close enough. They're not going to tear anything up. So that's about all I've got going on right now. So what Shelly has picked out 2 news articles that we're going to look at now. I don't know what these news articles are. She has looked at these and read these and been like, these will be great to talk about. So it's. Well,
I don't know about great, but one of them affects a lot of us, right? The other one's kind of funny.
Tell us these articles.
So now. The first one I have says AT&T says hackers stole data of nearly all U.S. customers. How many of y'all have AT&T phones? Because I have an AT&T phone. Randy has an AT&T phone. It says the call and text message records for 109 million U.S. customers from May 1st of 2022 to October 31st of 2022, as well as some from January 2nd of 2023, were exposed. Hackers downloaded the data in April from AT&T's third-party cloud service. The company announced Friday roughly 127 million devices are connected to AT&T's network. At least one person has been arrested in connection to the breach.
Jeez.
I don't. These things are seriously, it's like you can't live without them, and you don't want to live with them. They're just...
It's a government tracking device. They
much.
know everything that you're doing. Yeah, I guarantee anything we talk about on the show today is going to show up to where, show
like
up selling
you're going to go on
Facebook
something. And you're going to see a thing for VacMaster in your search on Facebook.
Yeah,
How much you want to bet?
Guarantee you will. And that's honestly not surprising. All these cell phone companies, all these different companies are getting hacked all the time. And I don't know a super great way to protect your information.
We
and
do
stuff
know
like
a super
that.
great way to protect it. Sean.
Yes.
From Ghost Phone, is that what it's called?
Yeah, he does Ghost Phones. It's mark37.com.
Yes.
Check out Sean. He was at our last festival. He talked about your digital privacy and stuff like that. He's a wealth of knowledge. He got into the weeds, and I kind of zoned out on some of it because I didn't understand it.
It's complicated, but he knows his stuff. If you want to get disconnected from all of this, but still have access to the tools and stuff like that, he can set you up. Go check out mark37.com.
Yeah. And honestly, this article is not anything new. There's always hacks and people stealing information, stuff like that. My bank card got hacked the other day. Somebody was trying to buy a bunch of stuff. So what else have you got there,
So
Shelley?
This is the other article that I found, which is kind of relevant to what we're doing here, So it says Singapore approves 16 insect species as food.
All right.
So recently, I say recently, like 6 months ago or something, who's the guy? I can't think of his name.
Klaus Schwab?
Yes, that guy. He was like, you will eat the bugs and you will enjoy them. Like, no, I'm not going to eat the bugs. It's not going to happen. Singapore.
I want to hear this list.
Singapore's list, and the pictures are just gross, y'all. The Western honeybee. Who's eating honeybees?
Yeah.
Why are you eating honeybees? Don't eat honeybees.
That's weird.
Like, we need honeybees to survive. Yeah.
Would they sting you when you ate it?
Well, we need them pollinating. Yeah. Why would you even eat a honeybee? Don't do that. Then you have silkworm or the silk moth. That's number 2. Number 3 is the lesser wax moth. Number 4 is the honeycomb moth or greater wax moth. Number 5 is the giant rhino beetle grub.
That sounds tasty.
I think of, what is that? The Lion King, where they get him to eat the grubs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Gross.
Number 6, white grub. Number 7, mealworms. We feed mealworms to our chicken. Why would you eat? Those are nasty. Yeah. Ugh. Number 8, the lesser mealworm. Number 9 is the superworm beetles, giant mealworm beetle, or king mealworm. Number 10, grasshoppers. I've heard about people eating grasshoppers for a long time. Yeah.
Crap.
Number 11, the American desert locust, or the regular desert locust, I guess. Number 12, the African migratory locust. 13 is the black field cricket, or two-spotted cricket. Number 14 is the common field cricket. 15 is the banded cricket, and 16 is the house cricket.
Personally, none of those sound appealing whatsoever to me.
This article says some local restaurants and real retailers have already made plans to start adding insects to their offerings.
Well, they're already putting insect. You got to look on the ingredients on a lot of these foods now, and there's like insect stuff in there, and
they don't call them insects.
Yeah,
they got funky names for them. So if you already are reading your ingredient list, and a lot of times, if you're not eating just whole food or just regular food, it's got all these funky names for all these chemicals that are in your food. So they throw in the funky names for the bugs. You just think it's a chemical or something. Yeah. You don't even know that you're eating a bug.
And a lot of that bug stuff, it can cause a shellfish allergy. And, people are allergic to shellfish. They can go into anaphylactic shock and kill them. So, that's another thing you've got to watch out. All that stuff just sounds gross to me. It's like... I think about it. What are you going to take, and put a grasshopper on your tortilla chip and munch down, and you munch down on your chip, and it's like nasty guacamole shooting out or something. That's just that's gross. Now that we've thoroughly grossed you out and talked about bugs and the bugs that these people are going to eat. Personally, I'm not going to eat bugs.
Maybe you just don't need to be eating in Singapore.
No.
I don't know.
Now,
but, where it starts in one place, it's going to come to another. You need to be in control of your food, man.
But now, I will say this. If I'm out there with Gary and Naked EJ on Naked and Afraid, those guys, those guys have eaten bugs. If I was out there with them, I might eat a bug or two if I was going to die. But...
Okay, if I need... it to survive. Yeah. Okay, maybe.
Yeah. But I'm not going to go to O'Charlie's and be like, serve me up some of those fried moss, please.
I think I would probably be more prone to eat a cricket than a grub, though.
Well, the grub, when you bite it, it's going to goosh out like a gusher or something. All that green. It's going to look like... I think of a grub like those big green tobacco worms you used to pull off the tobacco. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be good. That's like live guacamole.
It's the funniest thing when I pull those, which are the tobacco worms the same as the big ones that get on your tomato plants, tomato worms, tomato hornworms or whatever. They kind of look the same. They're about as big as your finger. You pull those off and give them to a chicken, and my chickens will grab one and it takes off running, and all the chickens are chasing it, trying to get it away. It's the funniest thing in the world to watch.
Oh, yeah. All right, now that we're done with gross news for today, Shelly, the main topic of today's.
So the main topic of today, Jason and I both separately came up with our own list. We did about 7 items apiece.
It was 7 items.
Well,
you went over?
No, well, I got some stuff.
This is what I got to deal with. I said 7 items.
Well, I don't even know why 7 happened. So, anyways,
first it started as, hey, let's do the top 5.
And I think that's what I said, and then he wanted to do 10.
Yeah, and then I wanted to do 10, and then we settled on 7. And she goes about 7.
Okay, so anyways, we both came up with a list of the 7 items that we feel like new homesteaders need to have.
All right. You go first.
You want me to do all 7 of mine, and then
do all 7, and I'm going to critique them and tell you why you're wrong, and then you can critique mine and be like, I wish my list looked like yours.
Just FYI, in the 54 years that I have been on this planet, I can count on one hand how many times I've been wrong. Ask Randy.
But she's got 8 fingers on one hand, so...
Haha. Anyway, okay, so my number one thing that I think new homesteaders need, they need to have goals or a plan. They need to be able to figure out what they want to accomplish in a year, 3 years, 5 years, and even past that. I'm big on goals. So if you don't, if you're just out there doing stuff, you're just going to wander around and not have, like an end thing in mind, I guess.
Oh yeah, I mean I agree with that. If you don't have any kind of goal, you're spinning your wheels. You're like,
right.
You're going over here. Well, I want some chickens. I want quail. I want rabbits. Let's get a dairy cow. That kind of crap. It's just like you've got to set and determine what you want to do with stuff.
Yeah. My number 2 is a budget. You can very quickly get out of hand with homesteading. The number one reason why I say this is that I think a lot of homesteaders will look at what other people, especially on YouTube, they'll look at what other people have or the setup they have or whatever, and you get, you're just jealous. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I see things set up on YouTube, and I'm like, that's what I want. That's what I want. And it's just not feasible. Either it takes too much time. I don't have the time to dedicate to it, or I don't have the funds to dedicate to it. Especially if you're at this point that you want to get like food independent and all that kind of thing. It takes time to do this, and you need to figure out, okay, I've got bills to pay. I've got to do this. If you're still working a full-time job or whatever, you have, stuff going out, stuff coming in. You got to figure out how much money you have to dedicate to this. Yeah. And don't go over it. I mean, don't get into that whole, I've got to have what Jason has, or I've got to have what, Billy has, or whatever. Do what you can. Yeah. Because otherwise you're going to get in trouble really quick, and then you're not going to want to do it anymore. That's just my opinion.
And my whole thing with the budget, I don't run on a budget, but I think everybody should run on a budget. My problem with the budget is if I want to buy this, I figure out a way to get the money to do it.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't disagree with that. If you can figure out a way, because he runs his own business. If you can figure out a way to make that happen, that's great. Do that. Yeah. But you got to understand. I don't think that going in debt is the answer, because self-sufficient living is not. And I'm not saying that I don't have debt. I've got a mortgage. I'm not saying that, but self-sufficient living, part of that is getting out of debt. Yeah. So. And
my thing is, if I want something, I go bid more jobs and just work more jobs and do that. So but you still got to budget stuff. I mean, I budget for my business and stuff like that, but I'm horrible about doing budgets.
Number 3 on my list is training. So, one of the things that you need to understand about homesteading, failing is okay. If you plant something in the ground and it comes up and the bugs eat every bit of it and you don't get any food off of it, it's okay. Plant it in a different place next year, or find something that's pest resistant, or figure out that maybe this particular type of potato doesn't work well in your area, or something like that. You learn from failure. You need to fail. If you're not failing, you're not learning. So, but you also need to be going out and getting, use this time, especially if you're just getting started. And even, like Jason and I, he's got a little bit of land. I've got a little bit of land. We don't have some big homestead production going on, but use this time as your classroom. Yeah. You can learn how to can. You can go buy vegetables from the farmer's market and learn how to can. There's like 5 million canning videos on YouTube. No joke. There's probably more than 5 million, but there's a lot of good YouTubers out there that are teaching good canning practices. You can go watch that. You can go sign up for a canning class. There's going to be a canning class at our festival this fall. If you're in Kentucky, you can come to that. We've got a canning class on Friday, and then we've got a guy that's going to be set up throughout the festival both days doing demonstrations about canning. So if you want to learn how to sew, or you want to learn how to butcher, a lot of times you can find a butchering class to go to, or you can call somebody that that processes their own animals and say, hey, the next time you process a pig, can I come and help? You just going and helping would be helpful to the person processing.
Oh yeah, an extra set of hands.
You get to learn how to do it. But there's all kinds of stuff: gardening, soap making, all of those things you need. So the job, I have a college degree in education. The job that I do right now, I'm a trainer for the company that I work for. my opinion about all of this is that you learn every day. And the day that you stop learning, you might as well lay down and die. You should always be doing something to further your knowledge on whatever the topic is. It doesn't have to be what I do or what he does. Whatever interests you. You should always be learning something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'm with you. Honestly, you can see my list. You hadn't seen it. Education is on there. It chaps me to no end that people will spend all kinds of money. People will spend money on guns, ammunition, plate carriers, all this other stuff, but they will not spend any money on education.
Yeah.
We spend a great deal of money on education and going to these other things and educating people ourselves. Some people, we've got an herbal class coming up July 20th. People balk at it. They're like, oh my gosh, it's $300 for this class. I'm like, you've got somebody that is an expert in their field going to spend 8 to 9 hours with you, showing you stuff. You're going to leave with product that you've made. That's not a whole lot of money. Stop going to Starbucks and spending $7 on a freaking thing of coffee. You don't do that for a while, and you can afford the educational experience. But that's probably one of my biggest gripes about the homesteading and the prepper community is they don't spend money on education. They'll spend stuff on sexy stuff. They'll go buy them a new AR-15 for $1,200, but they won't spend $300 on learning how to survive when you can't get antibiotics and you can't get Neosporin.
Right.
But yeah, education is big with me. That's one of the reasons we started all the stuff that we're doing and got our hands in all these different fields is to educate people. And yes, it costs money to do it, but it also costs us money to show you how to do it and to get these experts in the field to do it.
Yeah. Number 4 on my list is a reference library. Now, I say that meaning it kind of goes along with the education, but if you, and when I say library, I mean like books that you hold in your hand. If we ever get to a point that we don't have the internet or access to that stuff, you need to have reference books. I actually went through and made a list of some of my favorite ones. Let me just tick those off for you. The Independent Farmstead, if you're getting into homesteading, that's by Sean and Beth Doherty. Lots of great information in that book, especially if you're brand new to this. It's kind of eye-opening, and it gives you a lot of great information. If you're getting into canning, you need the Ball Complete Book of Home Preservation. There's some people out there who do what's called heritage canning, or I don't know, rebel canning, whatever you want to call that, and that's fine. There's a whole canning thing in the Amish community and all that kind of stuff that's different from what the Ball book teaches. That's fine. But if you're just getting into canning, you need to go by the rules. You need to go check out the Ball book of canning, and you need to go by what those rules are so you don't make your family sick or make you sick. And then once you get that under your belt and you understand how all that works, then you can delve into that other stuff. There's a butchering book that Rainey and I have by Adam Danforth that breaks down just like all animals pretty much. Once you know how to butcher like a pig, you can butcher sheep, cows, deer. They're pretty much laid out the same way. The only real different thing is a chicken. So, but that's a great book to have on hand. Gaia's Garden. That's GAIA '(S). Gaia's Garden. There's a lot of great information about gardening in that book. The Herbal Medicine Maker's Handbook by James Green. That's a great book to have. Peterson's Field Guide to Medicinal Plants. It's actually color-coded and laid out where you can take it out. If you find like a red flower, you go to the red section, and they just have them all listed in there. It's really easy to use. One book that's not really homestead related, but I kind of feel like you should probably read it. I got a lot of great information out of this book.
Wait, let me guess. Going Home.
No. We can talk about that another time. I love that book. Lies My Doctor Told Me by Dr. Ken Berry. He goes into a lot of the lies that are perpetuated by Big Pharma and how they kind of wrangle doctors into that, lying to doctors who, really in no fault of their own, end up lying to patients because, I don't know, it's just a big nasty cycle. But there's a lot of good information in that book about, getting your health in order. And that being food independent helps with that. So, I mean, there's just a lot of good info in that. So I think it's important to have a reference library. Yeah. And like I said, those are just a few. You could get like Foxfire books and all of that kind of stuff.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, I don't. Jason has that whole set, but I don't have those books. I think I have them in digital format. Doesn't KSL? Yes. Aren't they on the KSL? Yeah, we have a digital library with KSL. Number 5 on my list, community. You can't. You can try to think that you can like be on your Walton's mountain and be self-sufficient, but they even had 100 kids or something. I mean, you can't do this without community. And if I know Jason, or if I know Chris, the guy that lives across the street from us, or whatever, Chris raises cattle. If I need to trade with him, I can trade with him. I can trade with Jason. I don't have to do everything on my own if I have a community. Yeah. And not only that, if I need help with something, I've got somebody to call. If I have a question, I've got somebody to call. We had a pig a couple years ago that got sick. And, I called Jason, and Jason's like, hey, we got a guy in the group that knows a lot about pigs. I've never even met this guy face to face, and he called me several times back and forth, and we got our pig taken care of because we couldn't get a vet to come out and take care of it. Oh, yeah. Building community is so important. It's really, it needs to be at the top of the list for real. You need to be in some kind of community of, like-minded people that you can call on, and just somebody that if you're struggling or something, or somebody that you can be an encouragement to, or whatever, it's back and forth. You just need to have that community around you. Yeah,
I totally agree with that.
My number 6 on my list is garden. You can't become food. And to me, homesteading, the most important part of that is becoming food independent. You can't become food independent without growing your own food. There's a lot of learning that goes into that. And I am by no means an expert in gardening. I am not. However, when we started our homestead, I adopted this attitude of failure is, I started to say failure is not an option. What I say failure is giving up. Giving up is not an option. I have failed many times. Mm-hmm. I refuse to give up. If it didn't grow this year, okay, so right now, it's 2024. Right now, I've got tomatoes in my garden. I've got potatoes in my garden that I think are ready to be harvested at the beginning of August. I've got Jerusalem artichokes in my garden and asparagus that are on their second year that aren't, they're not going to be harvested till next year. And then I've got, I don't know, 1,500 species of weeds everywhere. Like all of my beds are full of weeds, and they have taken over because we had like a drought, and then we had tons of rain, and we weren't able to get stuff in the ground, and the weeds have taken over. And so right now my garden it's pitiful. It's absolutely ridiculous. Am I going to stop gardening? No, I am not. Yep. Right. It's been really hot. I work a full-time job. It's been hard to get out and clean out weeds. And every time I look at it, I get seriously frustrated. It's aggravating to sit there and think I could be growing food right there, but I'm not. I'm growing weeds right there. And really, they're probably medicinal herbs, right? Or medicinal plants that I just don't know. Yeah. But I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to stop doing it. So, but to think, if you're sitting there, if you're one of these people that are sitting there thinking, well, I've got a year's worth of food stored up in my basement, and I've got 15 Mylar bags full of seeds, and if everything goes south, I'm just going to rip open those bags and go plant those seeds. That ain't going to work, y'all. Yep. If you don't know what you're doing, if you've not tried gardening, if you haven't figured out which heirloom tomatoes work best in your soil, if you're not learning how to make compost, you're not going to get anywhere, because compost is the fertilizer that your plants are going to need, not the chemicals from the store. You need to know how to make fertilizer or how to make compost from your land that's best suited for your land with all the microbes and all that stuff that make that happen. You need to know how to do that. So, like I said, use this as your classroom right now. Learn what plants work best in your area. Learn how to get rid of the flipping weeds and Johnson grass and all the other stuff that's making you crazy. Learn how to do that now. Just don't give up. I mean, seriously, that's what you got to do, because gardening is not easy. And then the last thing on my list is protein, because if you're going to become food independent, you need to know how to grow meat. So the thing that I'll say about that is, it depends on what your place is. A lot of people think if they live in an apartment, they can't homestead. You can homestead. You can plant stuff in a pot on your deck or whatever. Yeah. You can have plants in the window or something like that. It's hard to grow protein though in an apartment.
Hamsters.
I don't know about eating hamsters. They are pretty prolific. I don't know.
Or maybe guinea pigs. If you're from South America, you can do guinea pigs.
Guinea pigs, yeah. I mean, if you liked, I think hamsters would be like chicken wings, right? They'd be like one.
Just be nasty.
But if you say you live in a subdivision or something like that, a lot of times you can have chickens. Sometimes they don't allow you to have roosters. Roosters are usually the noisy ones. But if you're able to have a rooster with your chickens, then you can have chickens go broody and hatch out your own eggs and have your own protein. Rabbits, you can have a setup. If you have 3 does and a buck, you can create enough meat to equal like a beef cow. If you bought a beef cow for a year, they're prolific and they will multiply and they are not noisy. They can be a little bit stinky. You got to be cleaning that out. But rabbit poo, great for your garden. Yep. It's a cold it's a cold fertilizer. You can, as soon as they poop it out, you can put it directly on your garden and it doesn't burn it up. So, figure out how to make those systems work together. But even if you can't grow your own protein, start figuring out where you can get this stuff from. Contact local farmers. Go to your farmer's market. Sometimes they have those, what are they called? Food CSAs.
Yeah, the CSAs.
And you can sign up for that, and it's like so much a month or so much a season or whatever, and you can get fresh produce and meat and all that kind of thing. But start getting out and meeting those people and figuring out, okay, I'm going to buy my beef from this person because I know that they it's like grass fed and they don't put chemicals on their field and, all this kind of stuff. And just get out and start meeting people and building your community and figuring out where you can get your stuff. And then gradually you can get into this.
Yeah.
But that's my list.
Yeah. Well, now we'll start on my list. We've got some overlap, honestly.
Okay. All right.
I mean, and we did these lists totally separate, and it's kind of funny to think, I've already heard her list. She hadn't heard mine. My list, we do have some overlap in the same thing, but my list is a little bit more manly. So, but it's kind of funny.
It's probably a little bit more preppy, where mine's homesteady.
There are no pew-pews on this.
Really?
Yes.
I'm shocked.
Well, every American citizen should have that already, whether they're a homesteader or not. So, if they're not,
I don't think you should make assumptions. But whatever.
I know there's too many purple-haired mouth breathers out there. So, all right, number one on my list, honestly, is a not give up attitude. I mean, just don't. Homesteading and getting started in it's gonna suck. I mean,
it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, today's 90, 95, 96 degrees with 1,000% humidity. The last thing you want to do is go out and weed the garden or move the animals. I mean, and I'll be honest with you, I don't want to do it. I've still got to go out and move animals today, make sure water troughs are done. And then even when it's 10 degrees outside, it's not going to suck as much because I like cold weather, but it's still going to suck. There's going to be days where you don't want to do stuff. and there's stuff that's not fun. So just don't give up on it. There's a lot of stuff that you're not going to like to do, but the reward in the end is great. When you've taken care, I mean, like when I take care of my sheep, but then we process one and I get to eat lamb chops that are freaking, I'm going to call them 100% organic and grass fed. It's better than any of the stuff you can buy at the store. That's awesome. Number 2 on my list, and this comes from my preparedness background, I'm going to tell everybody 3 to 4 months of stored food. And this is not rice and beans and flour and wheat and all this. This is 3 to 4 months of your pantry food. If you go out and you're a construction worker and you eat a can of ravioli every day for lunch, you need to have 3 or 4 months of ravioli set back for you. If you eat spaghetti once a week, and spaghetti is one of the easy things. If you eat spaghetti once a week, you need to figure out once a week, that's a pound of sauce. If you're buying your sauce, that's a pound of spaghetti sauce, a pound of noodles, and a pound of ground beef or sausage. So do the math and figure it out, what I need for 3 to 4 months sitting here. Any stuff that you're going to eat, if you whatever you eat, have 3 to 4 months of that, because the big thing is, if you planted a garden right now, a lot of that stuff is going to be 90 days before you can harvest any of it. So, and it's going to be a heck of a lot longer if you're growing animals. It's going to be, at least for larger animals, rabbits, quail and stuff like that, you can process those sooner, but you're still looking, 3 to 4 months before you can do a lot of that stuff. So that's why I say a 3 to 4 month food supply of food that you eat already, not...
Yeah, don't be the person that stores up beans and rice if you don't eat beans and rice.
Yeah.
And also, along with storing up 3 to 4 months worth of food, you need spices that are going to make your food taste better. Especially if you have kids, you want to make it where they'll eat it, right? You need salt. Yep. Without salt, you'll die. Yep. Like, you need salt. You need fat and you need salt.
Yep.
Along with whatever else that you're storing up. So whether that comes from fat from a pig or you're just getting, olive oil at the grocery store, whatever it is, you need that for your body to function correctly. So you need to be storing up that stuff as well.
Exactly. Number 3 on my list is a protein source. I think I'm a huge protein guy. I can eat meat. I can come home at the end of the day and eat a 12-ounce ribeye and some water, and I'm great. I don't have to have... My wife asks me all the time, she's like, what do you want me to fix this week for dinner? And I tell her, and it pisses her off every time. I'm like, fix me a meat and maybe a vegetable, and that's all I want. And she's like, well, I can't just do that. I'm like, have it to where I can grill a steak and eat some zucchini. And I'm good. And she's like, that's no fun. I'm like, that's all I want. I'm like, most guys would be like, well, I want this, this, and this, and everything. And then,
But I think she's trying to make, where Lincoln have, like, he likes to eat more food. I mean,
Lincoln needs to grow up and just eat steak like a man. So, but in reality,
you don't eat food. I've got a friend I work with, and he's like, I don't eat food.
Yeah.
He eats like mashed potatoes or some kind of potato and meat. That's all he eats. He doesn't eat any kind of other vegetables. He's like, I don't want to take food away from it.
Yeah. I mean, you're murdering that poor zucchini.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, a protein source. You're going to need that because the garden is not going to be 100% sufficient. The garden's not going to keep you up. Even if you're a vegan, you're screwed up in the head, but okay. But
you're not screwed up in the head. You can be a vegan. What is wrong with you?
You can't. Okay. All right. You can be a vegan.
You can be a vegan in Homestead. Guess what?
It's kind of an oxymoron. But all right. As far as your protein sources starting out on a homesteader, if you're just starting out, I would not go out and get sheep, pigs, or cows. Just period. No. I wouldn't do it.
No, I wouldn't either.
My protein sources I'm thinking about, Shelly's hit these too, is your chicken, rabbits, quail, and ducks. Yeah. And honestly, ducks are kind of nasty. I'm glad we don't have ducks anymore. They were not fun. But
duck meat that's kind of fatty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's good.
Yeah.
When you're talking about rabbits are really lean. They don't have a lot of fat in their body, but ducks do. So which chicken is pretty lean too.
And you can do like duck jalapeno poppers. You take duck meat and wrap it with bacon and put some jalapeno on it and grill it. It's amazing. And I hate jalapenos, but I'll eat those that way.
I've never had duck. My friend at work tells me that duck eggs are amazing. He cooks them on a smoker.
Really?
Yeah, he puts them on a smoker and smokes them. It hard boils them, and he's like, they are the most amazing eggs ever.
That sounds good.
It does sound good. I'm hoping he'll bring me some eggs. But go ahead. Sorry.
All right. Number 4 on my list is a garden, raised beds, or a perennial crop, like a food forest.
Food forest, yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I suck at gardening. I hate it. I despise anything to do with going out weeding beds, planting beds.
Have
all
you given
that
up?
crap. I've not given up.
Don't give up.
I'm not going to give up. I just hate it. I totally despise it. But what I've done on my place is done more perennial systems. Our food forest. I've got a rocking food forest down there. Love it. It's a lot of work on the get-go and getting it started, but after that, it's kind of on autopilot. It needs to be weeded right now, but, I mean, we're sitting here middle part of July, and I'm still getting strawberries. And literally, I've done nothing down there since, when did we plant that? November? We planted the new section in November.
Have you started getting any fruit on your trees?
I've got some. But when Mark, that little dirty cow that got out, he ate like 4 or 5 of my apples.
I didn't even know cows ate apples.
Yeah, well, that little bastard did. But yeah, I mean, garden, raised beds, or perennial stuff like your food forest system. Or, I mean, it doesn't have to be a food forest. You can do an orchard.
Yeah.
You know, grow fruit trees, nut trees, stuff like that.
Berry bushes, all that kind of thing, yeah.
We've already touched on this. My number 5 is education. I mean, we've kind of beat that horse to death. I think you need to get as much education as you can. That's an investment in yourself. You know, you don't just think if you didn't buy that new truck and had $1,000 a month payment on, I mean, that's what some of these new trucks are, $1,000 a month. Think of what you could do spending $1,000 a month on your education. I mean, think of the stuff you would learn, and you would probably learn that $1,000 a month for a new truck is stupid too, by the way.
You could put in a serious food forest with $1,000.
Oh my! I don't even think I have $1,000 in my whole food forest.
Maybe maybe $500, and the most expensive thing was the trees.
Yeah,
but he got his trees like at the end of the season and got them discounted or whatever. I mean, if you time it right, doggone.
I mean, you could put in a good sized food forest for probably $500. I mean, I might have 600, maybe probably $500 to $600 in that. So,
but you could do a butcher. I mean, you could go find a butchering class for a couple $100.
Yeah,
and get a good education in butchering.
Yeah,
I mean, think like that one truck payment could get you started with a perennial food forest. It could get you started in butchering. It could probably buy you a couple small piglets. I mean, good Lord.
But a lot of people,
a lot with $1,000.
A lot of people would rather have that new King Ranch than the education of it. So
those King Ranches are nice.
They are. But not $1,000 a month.
Right. You're right about that.
Yeah. Number 6 on mine are hand tools. You're gonna need.
Have that.
Yeah, you're gonna need. Shelly's gonna dig with sticks and flint for her stuff, but hand tools. And I'm not talking any kind of power tools, anything like that. I'm talking shovels, like a grubbing hoe. Your pickaxe, a regular hoe to hoe out weeds. Your little garden trowels and stuff like that to plant your plants. A good pair of loppers. I will use a good pair of loppers. I've got the small little handheld ones for small branches, but the bigger loppers with like a 18 or a 20-inch handle, I would rather, if it's small branches, I would rather grab the loppers to prune something than to go get a stinking chainsaw and fire it up and do all that.
Yeah.
Because by the time I went and grabbed a chainsaw, I could already cut everything I needed to. That, and then plus, if you're looking in a grid down situation, the loppers are a lot more stealthy than firing up a chainsaw. So,
let me just add one thing to that. One of the things, if you're working on a budget and you don't have a lot of money to go out and buy all kinds of tools and everything, one of the things that Randy and I do locally where we live, it's like seriously, I don't know, 5 miles from our house. There's a guy that has an auction, and he does it. It's at his place, at his farm. He's an auctioneer. He does it on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And then the first Monday of the month, he does a firearms auction. He'll auction off guns and ammo and all that kind of stuff. Or he calls it the ammo auction, I guess. But we have bought more tools for our homestead at that auction. We even bought because every once in a while he'll do farm auctions where he'll have tractors and all that kind of stuff. But at that auction, we bought this little handheld chainsaw that's got a blade that's like that long, and it has a battery thing. $2. And it was practically brand new. It didn't have the battery with it. So I went online, ordered the battery from Amazon, and it was like $13 or something. We use that thing to cut down tree limbs or whatever, cut little stuff up. I mean, we've gotten way more than $2 worth of use out of that thing. So if you don't have, a big budget for tools and everything, see if you can find some local auctions and go check that out, because they'll have hand tools and hoes and hammers and whatever you need, you'll find
estate sales and
yes.
garage sales are awesome to pick up stuff. And honestly, a lot of the older tools have way better metal in them than the new stuff.
Yep.
I've got a garden hoe that was my dad's. That thing weighs twice as much as one of the brand new hoes, and the handle on it's rough. I needed to do something with the handle, but I went and bought a new hoe and spent a good amount of money on this new hoe, and it was trash after 30 minutes.
Yep.
I was like, I took the stupid thing back, and I was like, I just want my money back. I'm going to buy a new handle for that old hoe of Dad's. I put an edge on that thing, and it will darn near cut your toe off if you don't watch it. So don't weed in flip-flops.
Well, and again, if you have like a grid down situation or something, you don't have electricity, a lot of times at those auctions or estate sales, you can find old time tools like drills and stuff like that you don't need power to run. So it's good to go check them out.
I've got a bunch of that the brace and everything. The braces are the old drills where you're holding down and it's got I've got those, the small little drills. Hand planes, and I've got all that, and instead of having it stuck down here in the shop, I've got it on a bookcase in the house and just use it as decoration, and it looks cool. Nobody thinks like, oh man, this dude's into prepping and stuff because he's got this. It's just decoration. Probably one of the coolest things, I've got an old riveter like they used to rivet blue jeans with.
Those are those things that look like a star, right?
No, this one has got this is like a commercial one. It's like this tall, and you slide the thing in there, and it's got a big handle that you pull down.
That's cool.
It's cool. I don't have any rivets for it. I need to find some, but I'm like, it looks neat.
One of the guys he sets up at our festival, and he's actually been a speaker at our festival the last two, every festival that we've had. His name is Jeff Smith, and at his booth, he'll have all kinds of old-timey tools. He does a whole talk on that. You can talk to him about it. If you're looking for something in particular, he's good at finding this stuff and restoring it or teaching you how to restore it if it's, like rusted and all that kind of thing. So you need to come to the festival and check Jeff out and talk to him. And he even does bartering and stuff if you want to trade. He loves to barter, so he's a good resource.
And my final and last thing is kind of two things together. Is 5-gallon buckets and garden hoses. I use a stinking 5-gallon bucket and a garden hose every day. The 5-gallon buckets, it's got, infinite number of uses. We could do a whole podcast on just uses for a 5-gallon bucket. But generally bringing food scraps, I take my animals, we mostly grass feed all our animals, but they get a little bit of grain every day just so they'll follow you. I use a 5-gallon bucket for that. If you've got to fill up, a lot of the times instead of dragging a garden hose all the way across the driveway to water the chickens, I just soon, instead of messing with that hose, grab a 5-gallon bucket, go over there and do that. There's just infinite numbers of uses for a 5-gallon bucket and garden hoses. I use them every stinking day. That's just a no-brainer to me. But that kind of rounds out my list.
The girl that I work with in my office, she lives in the same town that I live in, and Randy and I recently bought a Gator, a John Deere Gator at the auction, and so I was asking her, because they have like side-by-sides and stuff, and she's always grown up on a farm and everything. And I said, are you allowed to drive these things on the road? And she said, well, no, not really. They're not licensed or anything. And she goes, but where we live, if you throw some 5-gallon buckets in the back of that thing, the cops won't stop you.
Yeah.
Because she's like, farmers go around and feed their animals and everything. They'll use their side-by-sides or UTVs to do that. And if you have some 5-gallon buckets back there, they think you're just going to feed your animals, and they usually leave you alone. And I was like, one more use for a 5-gallon bucket.
that and then throw the little triangle slow-moving sign on, and you're good to go.
Yep.
So those are our list. If you've got any comments or questions on these,
or if you got anything that you think that we missed or you need to add.
Yeah, I mean, we could go on. We could do the top 100 if we wanted to.
Right.
But if you got anything to add to the conversation, we'd be excited to see it. If you got any questions on why we put one of these in, drop a line in the comment section. If you're on YouTube, do that. Email us if you got any questions or comments. Shelly's email is Shelly@, KentuckySustainableLiving.com. Mine is Jason at KentuckySustainableLiving.com. And that leads us in to the Homestead Tip of the Week, and that is brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap. We'll put a link in the description where you can go to get soap. It's actually soap that Shelly makes. It's amazing soap. I've got a ton of it. And
if you want some sexy beast soap, that's where you get it, Hickory Ridge.
Yes, and I'm not going to tell a story about the first time I used Hickory Ridge soap.
He's so weird.
We'll tell that at a later day. If you want to hear the story, leave a comment, and I will tell the story on the next one.
So the Homestead Tip of the Week, don't do too much when you're starting out. Just do a little bit. Add whatever it is that you're going to add, whether you're going to start with gardening or you're going to start with chickens or whatever it is. Do that one thing, get that under your belt, get good at that. If you're starting with chickens, understand what you need to feed them. Understand how to take care of them when they get sick, because they will get sick. Yeah. And sometimes you just don't know what to do. I've taken a chicken to the vet before. So do that one thing and get good at that. Don't do 15 things and be like, I'm jumping in feet first. And I'm going to get all the things and I'm going to, do all the stuff. And because I promise you don't have the infrastructure in place. You don't have the knowledge in place. I mean, even understanding your zones, like what you need to have close to your house and what needs, what doesn't need to be in zone 5. Just do one thing at a time and get good at that, and don't overwhelm yourself with a bunch of stuff. That's my tip.
And I agree with that. I've got the tendency to jump in with 15 or 20 different things going at once. And honestly, if you do 10 or 15 different things at once, you suck at all of them most of the time.
And if you're talking about gardening or something, that's one thing, but it is really important to me for the animals that live on my farm to just be able to live their best life and only have one bad day, the day they get processed. And so I don't want an animal to suffer or to even die because of something. And I've had that happen. I'm not saying I haven't had that happen, but I don't want that to happen. I want them to have a good life and not suffer because I'm an idiot and I don't know how to take care of them appropriately. So especially when you're talking about animals and raising livestock, understand what you're doing. Yeah. Get some education, get some books, talk to people, build your community, have people to ask questions. And, in case one does get sick and you don't know what to do, have somebody to call. Yeah. Just don't overwhelm yourself.
Yep. I think that's a good tip. Moving in, last part, everything, festival stuff. We've got our festival coming up October 26th and 27th, Bowling Green, Kentucky at the WKU Ag Expo Center. We've got tons of stuff going on. Probably one of the easiest things to tell you is KentuckySustainableLiving.com. That's our website. Yep. We're going to have Friday workshops if people want to attend that. But the bulk of the stuff is going to be on Saturday and Sunday. Shelly, you've got a bunch of notes written down.
I've just got a list. I don't have a full list of all of our speakers yet because we're still getting some people lined up. But we are going to have Angry Prepper back.
Yep.
Angry Prepper is out of New York, and that guy's awesome.
Yeah.
I really like talking to him. When I first saw his YouTube channel, I was like, this dude's a little intimidating. Yeah. Because he's a firefighter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he lives in New York. I mean, like New York City,
Yeah,
New
he
York.
lives in the city.
But he's a super nice guy, and he really knows his stuff, and he's got a lot of great information to share. You need to check him out on YouTube. William Bond is going to be there. William Bond is the permaculture consultant, or if you watch Permapasture Farm, he's the pasture-raised pimp. So you'll want to come check him out. William is, I should have told this when we did our we did our podcast about how we got started in homesteading. William is the one that came to our property and did a homestead or a permaculture consultation and laid us out a plan. I said the most important thing that a new homesteader needs is a plan. William is the one that got us started on that. If you need help with that, you need to contact him or his dad, Billy, or his mom, Michelle. They're all great at that. Another speaker that we're going to have is Sean Terrio, which is the ghost phone guy, mark37.com. You can find him. If you want to unplug from everything that everybody is plugged into and still, have stuff like this, he's the guy that you need to talk to. He's going to be speaking there. He'll have a booth set up there. Let's see. Kowalski Mountain, they're going to come and do a beekeeping class. They're from right here in Kentucky. They're part of our group, and we really like having them around, Philip and Barbara Sue. Leslie Gossett is going to be speaking about herbalism.
Yes. And
she's doing our herbal class here pretty soon. Who else can you think of? Brian and Susan will be back from S&B Radio.
Yeah. And they're going to be doing a Friday workshop on how to do a family and group emergency plan as far as communications with radios and stuff like that. So
Grumpy Acres, Angela and Garen, Grumpy Acres is going to do a workshop the Friday before on canning. So if you want to learn canning.
And there's going to be more workshops. We've got a lot of things in the works. That's about all we can tell you right now, 100%. But go to KentuckySustainableLiving.com. Check it out. Tickets, we've still got early bird ticket prices. So if you want to grab those up before they go up in price.
Not early bird. We don't have the early bird ticket prices ended May 31st. So right now you can get, if you use promo code email25, you can get your tickets for $25. They'll be $35 at the door.
Yes.
But if you go online and order them and use promo code email25, you can get them for $25. Anybody 17 and under gets in free. So yeah, come check it out.
All right. Guys, we appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.